We had to start to think about the world building a little bit differently.
There are a lot of intricate environments for the player to explore.
Where to go from here? We want to burst that bubble. The setting in the first Control game was unique. It all took place in a single building, which was part of the point, right? Like that it feels like a secluded, separate space from the rest of the world. You feel like you're in this kind of a bubble, isolated from normal life and familiar things, and so you're within a lockdown. And having this sense of isolation in the first game was crucial. And we had this brutalistic architectural style that was like a key part of the visual DNA of the building and so on. And we had this bureau that was backwards leaning in its kind of a presence and so on. So it was this kind of a strange yet familiar kind of a bubble that you're in. And of course, as creators, when we think about like where to go from here, we want to burst that bubble, right? Like, you know, the lockdown falls apart and we get exposed with the normal world.
Manhattan has been shaped and twisted into a labyrinth, so there are a lot of intricate environments for the player to explore, similar to Control 1. So there's still quite a lot of interesting stuff for the player to find. We've also introduced a couple of new types of narrative collectibles for the players to find. One is audio logs, where as you're listening to the audio log, you can continue parkouring around the city, exploring and finding other stuff. We also have given Dylan a radio, which he can use to call up his handler, Zoe, to report interesting things he sees around the city.
So in Control, brutalism was at the core of the experience because of the oldest house, naturally. And in Control Resonant, we really had to make sure that from a world-building point of view, we have this mundane and grounded and believable and lived-in baseline in the world in order for the Paranatural to really shine. It's very important for us, specifically when doing concepting and visual exploration, is not to look at reference from other video games. There's easily this tendency where AAA games start to all gravitate towards this aesthetic singularity and nobody's taking risks and everything starts to resemble each other. So looking at reference from art exhibitions or film and TV or scientific visualizations or nature, if it helps us to bring some new fresh takes into this singularity, I feel like it's going to be worth it and the player will appreciate it as well.
Well, imagine that there's a place that was Manhattan, but it has been taken over by a paranatural force that may or may not have been in the first game, might be something completely new. We actually have multiple factions in this game. So there are some zones where you can find all of these factions from, I think all the zones in the game, but how much of these factions have presence in each zone, that differs.
Now that things are flooding from the oldest house into the Manhattan, we had to start to think about the world building a little bit differently. So now it's not just FBC holding on and trying to gain control, but it's more of a world, a lived-in world that has a history of its own already, and there are different factions that are basically trying to gain control in our world.
For the enemies in Control Resonant, we definitely heard the feedback and tried to address the feedback we got for Control. So this time around, we have way more creatures than we did before. One of the enemies that we, for example, have is a bus. So that obviously creates a little bit of challenge for the animation team of what can you actually do with this bus when you have limited controls on it. A lot of his enemies, they are creatures, but we still have used a mocap actor to mocap some of the enemies, and we have one mocap actor so freaking amazing, nailing down his twitching and glitching. So Tuomas Nilsson, he's our go-to guy when it comes to his enemies that can be mocapped.
His and Mold are there, but of course we're introducing a lot of new things as well. And it's a fun layering of familiar things, but definitely facing new challenges.